hopefully inspiring us with a hope to keep going. So we're looking at no matter what, how do we keep going? So we're calling it hope to persevere. So that's what keep going, like persevere, keep going. That's the thing that we're going on this morning. And to help us, I have put my message into 4 points with the 4 letters of the word hope. I know, I've done really, really well. So hope is being confident that God is going to do what he has said, and that he's going to do what he's promised. He's going to do what he said he will do. You know, hope is something that should keep us going every day. We know that we can have hope in things, we can have hope for things, but what do we do when things get a bit tough, when things seem tricky, when life gets hard? Remember when we feel like we can't keep going and things seem difficult? Well, the first thing I want to say, we're going with H, is we need to hold on. When things get tough, when it comes to hope, we need to hold on. And I was thinking about this, I was thinking about what does it mean to hold on in hope. And I remember when I was maybe about 10, 11, me and my cousins at Christmas, we used to go carol singing with my grandma. No, we used to go carol singing together. And one day my grandma said to me, I'll come with you. My grandma said, we'd had the Christmas dinner, and she said to me and my cousins, so it was me, my brother, my 2 cousins, and then she said, I'll come with you and I'll sing soprano, is that okay? And I said, yeah, grandma. And I had this whole thing in my head about how it was going to turn out, and we had the afternoon of little bits of presents, and I went, Grandma, you still coming carol singing with us? She said, yeah, I'm definitely singing soprano. And I said, maybe, Grandma's coming carol singing with us, it's going to be so good. And what we used to do is we just used to go around the neighbours. It was just like on my grandma's street. And then we got to the bit where it got to 6 o'clock, we'd had the tea, it was dark, and I said, we're getting ready. Grandma, are you coming? Are you not getting ready? Oh no, I was only joking. I wasn't really going to come carol singing with you. And I remember the disappointment that I felt when she said that she wasn't coming. I was like, what do you mean? Well, I can't really sing soprano. I'm not coming with you. And I remember feeling so disappointed. I held on to those words. I'm coming with you, and I'm going to sing soprano. I held on to those words all day, and I felt so disappointed. And I was thinking that, you know, when it comes to our hope, we can trust God to hold on to his word and his promises. We have to remember that we can hold on to Jesus, to God's promises, because we know that his word is good and true. He will always come through. You know, the Bible tells us, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. That's Isaiah 55, verses 8 to 9. You know, we don't always see the big picture as God does, so we need to trust him in all things, knowing that he is going to work all things together for our good. You know, when things seem particularly tough, we can hold on to the truth of God's word, and we can keep going knowing that God is going to do what he said he will do. Secondly, when things seem difficult, when it comes to our hope, we need to keep a check on our outlook. Turn to your neighbour and say, outlook. Outlook. Oh, Harry. We need to keep a check on our outlook. Have you ever heard the phrase, every cloud has a silver lining? Yeah, it's one of my favourite phrases, because I am one of those people. I'm sure I really annoy people because I am positive most of the time, and like every time there's something goes wrong, I'm like, oh well, but that means that, and I will find something good in a terrible situation. And you know, when we go on our family holidays, usually on the way there, we have had diversions on the way back, but normally on the way to our holiday destination, we find that we get taken on a little diversion, and we get stuck in some, like maybe traffic or some roadworks, and say, this road's close, we could go this way, and we could go, oh man, this is so annoying, we've got to take a diversion. Or as we start saying, well, we've never been on this road before, well that's exciting, isn't it? Oh, we're seeing more of the country that we haven't seen. And you know, we have this choice in that moment on our holiday journey to go out and, oh, this is so annoying. Or we can have the outlook of, actually, this is an opportunity to see another place, to stop somewhere else, or to be on a road that we haven't been on before. Because you know, if our outlook is one that is negative, for the things that could go wrong, we won't access the fullness of the hope that we can have in God. And it will make it much harder to keep going if we have that negative outlook. You know, if Jesus, in his time on earth, if he had lived with a hopeless view of the world, going, I'm coming to earth, but I don't know why I'm bothering. If he had done that, his ministry would have looked so different, wouldn't it? It would have shaped the way that people are today very differently. His ministry would have looked different. His character would have been very different. You know, when people needed healing, Jesus' response to them wouldn't have been the same. He wouldn't have acted in as much grace and kindness towards the people as he did. You know, in the story of the feeding of the 5,000, Jesus' outlook was that the people would eat. You know, they're going, oh, we're all starving, we're all hungry. And Jesus knows that they're going to have an opportunity to eat. He encouraged the disciples to feed the people. And the disciples struggled to get their head around, all we've got is these loaves and these fish, what are we going to do? But Jesus saw an opportunity for a miracle to raise faith and to bring hope, so a new confidence in God's love and God's power to people. He saw a silver lining in the cloud of hunger. He says there's an opportunity here for me to do something. And you know, our outlook is key when it comes to hope. In all things, when we know we need to keep going, we need to be in the mindset of where we speak out truth about God's nature, his character. Otherwise, we'll end up focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah.
Thirdly, P. We need to persevere. Hope to persevere. When were we newly married? When we climbed Snowdon? I think we were, yes, because I just started teaching as well. We climbed Snowdon on one of our lovely holidays, and I got about 3/4 of the way up, 2/3, 3/4 of the way up, and I got to a point where I just couldn't go anymore, and I had a little panic and a little bubble. I was like, I can't go, I'm going to fall off the mountain. And I didn't do myself justice in that particular moment. But a family came down on the other way and they said, oh, you've got to keep going, it's so worth it. And meanwhile, James is going, you've got half an hour up that way, or 3 hours back. Which are you going to choose? And this family came and said, keep going, the view from the top is absolutely amazing, it's incredible. So I chose, I said, you've got to hold my hand, so he practically dragged me up the mountain. But at the top, there was such a reward of seeing the views from the top of the mountain. You know, if I had turned around, I wouldn't have developed myself, I wouldn't have developed my skill, I wouldn't have developed any of my character. I had a choice in that moment of whether to keep going in the middle of the tough stuff or not. And whatever we are facing today, we always have a choice. But if we're going to grow in faith, we need to exercise our faith muscle. We need to become stronger in our faith and understanding of God. And we do that by choosing to persevere. You know, if we give up, we don't see the results of what we can become and all that God can do in us and through us. If we choose to give up in prayer or maybe in our understanding of the Bible, or if we give up on the practical side of things about learning how to behave or learning what it means to serve on a church team, then we'll lose hope and we'll not see all that God can do. So I want to encourage us today that we need to persevere. So we need to hold on, keep checking our outlook, we need to persevere, and lastly, we need to remember that hope comes with endurance. When I was in my youth group, so I would have been about 14, maybe 15, I played a game as part of the group, and one of the things that I did was I won. I won the game, and I was very excited because I never really won the games. And I said, but if I win, do I get a prize? And they said, oh yeah, you'll get a prize, you just have to wait for your prize. Sorry? So we'll get you a prize, but you just got to wait for it. And week in, week out, on reflection, it was probably only about 8 weeks, it was probably about a term, but when you're 14, 15, it feels like a very long time. But week in, week out, I turned up going, oh, what if I get my prize today? I've been promised this prize, and I was like, will I get it today? Will I get it today? And then we got to the last week, and I think, if I'm being honest, I think by week 8, I just sort of forgot about very patient. Here's your prize. And he had remembered, and I had to endure week in, week out, going, oh, am I going to receive the prize? Am I going to receive this prize that I promised? And you know, there are many things that we will live with, we'll live through. Some things will be good, some things will be not so good, and there'll be times of testing, there'll be times where we have to wait, where we have to be patient. But in all these things, we can endure and we can stay strong because we know who God is. And we know that He is faithful to keep His promises. It says in Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. You know, as we choose to keep trusting God and make the decision to keep going, we'll see the reward of our hope in the end. If we endure the things that we go through, if we persevere, keep our outlook in check, as we hold on, you know, it does take patience, but it spurs us on to keep going. We will see the reward of our hope in the end. So, just to bring this into close before we just take a bit of time to pray together, whatever stage of life we are at, we need to remember to hold on to God's promises. We need to remember to keep a positive outlook. We need to remember to persevere, to keep going, to endure, staying steady and consistent, even in the middle of the tough stuff. Let's not be thrown around and wavering with worrying all the time. I read this quote, and I want to leave it with us this afternoon, just as we bring this into land. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. That's Martin Luther King Jr. We must accept finite disappointment. We know that in this life there will be things that cause us disappointment, whatever that might be. But we must never lose infinite hope. There's a scripture that says these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love will all remain. We can trust that our hope will carry us through. So I want to encourage us today, let's be people who keep going, who keep holding on to God, keeping that hope-filled outlook. Let's persevere so that then, when we do persevere, we can share of how God has come through for us in our lives. It builds our testimony. And let's remember that as we endure the things we go through, we will one day see that eternal reward.